Hello and welcome here to Talking CP and welcome back to the channel here, and once again we're talking transfers, and this time in this video we're going to be discussing a possible transfer coming in and who exactly is Barcelona target Nelson Semedo. Now a lot of people before this transfer window started were sort of looking at our squad, looking at our team, thinking where exactly do we need to improve, and I think the one consistent message from all of us and also Barcelona staff and players, we need to get in a right back. Of course, since last season, of course, Dani Alves departed. He went to Juventus, and since he's gone there, he's done outstandingly well, like we all expected him to. He's taken several very valid hits at the board since he's been at Juve, and he said this week that he still has Barca in his blood. But we let him go. That seemed like a big mistake, and we never really replaced him. Alex Vidal, of course, came in, and he was very, very unlucky. Just as he was starting to hit a little bit of form, he suffered nearly a season-ending injury. Very, very nice to see him come back in that Copa del Rey final against the team in which he broke his leg against in Alaves, and he came on in the latter stages of that game. A really nice moment for him. And of course Sergio Roberto, who's done a very, very good job, to be fair to him. You know, he's not a right back, but he's done a good job there. Luis Enrique put him there. He's been solid, he's been decent, but we still need something, that X factor in our right back position, because a lot of people don't really realise this, but in a lot of teams, you know, your fullbacks need to be decent, but in our team, in our system particularly, the fullbacks are so important because they don't always play like fullbacks. A lot of players coming into the club, you'd say, right, you know, as a fullback you need to be good first and foremost at defending, but that's not really what we look at in terms of a Barcelona right back or a left back. We want them to be good on the front foot, because let's face it, against most of the teams we play, the right back and left back play not like wing backs but like wingers. They spend so much time in the opposition half. They're always pushing up the pitch. They're always trying to get beyond their man, and that's what we look for in a right or left back. You know, we need them to be athletic. We need them to be able to get up and down the pitch. Jordi Alba's got fantastic stamina in terms of that. A little bit lacking in his final pass, and that's exactly what we look for. Somebody who's good in the final third, but of course defensive play is also very, very key, because in those big games you saw the likes of Sergio Roberto and Vidal at times exposed, particularly against the PSG in the 4-0. That right hand side really did take a hammering. Draxler had a field day. So going back to Semedo, who we've been highly linked with throughout this transfer window so far. Who exactly is he? Because apparently now he is the man that we're chasing. Originally it was thought that possibly we'd go for ex-La Masia player Hector Bellerin from Arsenal. That doesn't seem to be happening now, which I think a lot of people are quite glad about, because a lot of Bellerin is very well known to us. He's quite an established household name. He has not had a good season with Arsenal at all, and it is very, very likely that they would charge a very, very hefty transfer fee to get Bellerin back to the club. So a lot of people seem to think that it's better to go down a different route, and according to several sources in Portugal, the big ones as well, the big news outlets, Abola, Record, have all said that we're very, very close to sealing a deal for Semedo from Benfica. Now, like I said at the start of the video, a lot of people before this summer started wouldn't have seen an awful lot of Semedo playing for Benfica, of course, who had a very, very successful season in Portugal, and he was ever present throughout the last season for them. He made 31 league appearances in Liga NOS, scoring a goal and contributing to 6 assists, which coincidentally is exactly the same amount of assists that Jordi Alba had last season. Alba did play, admittedly, less matches, but Semedo certainly going forward is one of his strengths. Now, a lot of people when linking him with Barcelona have said different things like the new Dani Alves, because it's actually a very, very similar sort of player. Now, I don't like that brand. I don't like calling players the new something, because I think Dani Alves is probably one of the best signings we will ever make in our history, and that's not exaggerating. He was incredibly successful here. He came with a big reputation. He came as well with a big transfer fee, because when we're talking about Semedo, the reported transfer fee is upwards of 35 million euros. Now, when Dani Alves came, it was one of the world records for a defensive player. We paid it. We paid the money to Sevilla. He came and he conquered. And that's what a lot of people are saying that could possibly happen if we could bring in Semedo. He's only 23 years old, which means there's a lot of room there, not only for improvement, but also there for consistency. We're going to have him here as long as he performs for a number of years. So it's more of an investment. You know, we're not signing a player who's 28 and who's nearing the end of his career. You know, we're signing a player who's still young, who's still able to learn. And Benfica have produced some fantastic players over the years in all positions. They've got an excellent youth setup there. They can consistently bring through young players, and Semedo is one that this season really has excelled for Benfica, and he certainly fits the profile of what we're looking for in a fullback. So how exactly hard is it going to be to sign him? Well, that is the question, because not only are we interested in Semedo, but there are a number of other clubs around Europe that are also highly interested in the fullback, which in terms of a negotiation point is difficult, because when there's more clubs involved, that drives the fee up, and of course then the club selling know they've got a number of offers on the table to choose from. But it also does show that we're looking at a good player here. If there's other big clubs interested, Bayern Munich is said to have been highly interested in him for a while now, Manchester United as well, Chelsea, Man City need a right back, they've been looking at Semedo, but it does look as though the preference for the player, and also the preference in terms of Benfica selling, it looks as though he may well be on his way. But of course, this is early days. You hear a lot of rumours like this, particularly coming out of Portugal. Of course, they're going to be spreading the news that possibly a sale is on the cards to make Barcelona act quicker, possibly as well to make those rival clubs up their offers to Benfica. The problem as well that we have is the fee will be high. It will be high coming from Benfica. They've just sold their goalkeeper to Manchester City, and that went through for about 35-40 million euros. And the reason for that is a lot of players coming out of Portugal are involved in third-party ownership, which is actually on the way out in Europe now. You're not really allowed to do it at all. Atletico Madrid had some problems with it a few years ago. You're not allowed third-party ownership in the Premier League. But what it basically means is that Benfica doesn't actually own all of the player, if you like. They're sort of separated into chunks. There's a good possibility that Nelsinho, as he is known in Portugal, Semedo, is owned by third parties. So Benfica may actually only end up getting half the fee. That's what happened with their goalkeeper they sold to Manchester City. He went for 35 million, 40, but they only got half the fee because he was partly owned and half owned by third party ownership. So if we're going to get Semedo, don't expect it to be on the cheap. We are going to have to pay for it. It's going to be close to 35 million euros is what they're reporting at the moment coming out of Portugal, which I think, to be fair, you only get what you pay for. And I say that with caution because I don't like the fact that transfer fees season upon season are rising. But at the end of the day, in this market right now, you have to pay the big bucks to get the big players. It's as simple as that. Because if we're going in for a player which Bayern Munich and Man United and Man City are interested in, they've all got mega bucks, particularly the Manchester clubs, particularly the Premier League owned clubs owned by, owners, mega rich, of course. If you're going to go head-to-head with those, you've got to stump up the cash. And we're not short on money. We're one of the biggest clubs in the world, revenue-wise and globally in terms of, well-known. And for that reason, we're going to be able to pay it. If the Barcelona board think he's good enough, if Roberto Fernandes has been given the all clear by Valverde, of course, because him coming in now, he's going to have to approve the transfer. He's going to have a look at him and say whether he thinks that he's going to fit his system. And of course, what you've also got to note is what system are we going to be playing next season? Because if you're going to spend a lot of money on a fullback, you want to either be playing 4-3-3, or if you're going to play 3 at the back, you're going to want to include him as a sort of wing back or the right-sided midfielder in that 3-4-3. So he's got to make sure that he fits into Valverde's plans, and I've got no doubt that Roberto Fernandes, who could be dealing with the transfer, will look at all these different things, but that's what's going to take a little bit of time. I wouldn't expect this deal to be wrapped up so quickly. We've seen Manchester City doing deals so quickly in the Premier League of late. I wouldn't expect a quick deal on this one, but it is being reported, widely reported, also by Spanish media, that we are definitely interested in Semedo. Whether or not we'll get it over the line is unclear as of yet. But he's quick, he's good on the ball, he's certainly good going forward. He's about 5'10". He's got a decent physique. He's not one of these players who's easily pushed off the ball. He's not the tallest, but he's a strong player. And I do see, to be honest, where the comparisons with Dani Alves come from, because he's quite direct in his running. He has got a decent final ball. He's good in the final third. And a lot of the things you look at, you think, well, at the moment he's got the base qualities that you need. He's quick, he's strong, he's good in the final third, he's got very good energy up and down the pitch. Those are all base qualities that you need in a Barca fullback. And the fact that he's then 23, like with Dani Alves when he joined, he can improve, he can learn the system more, he can understand the philosophy, he can work with the fantastic players that are around him and take more on board and learn from them, and then he can become a better player season upon season. We've seen it happen before with young players joining the club. Is he ready? We'll only find out when he comes. That's what the story is he's not experienced in the sort of latter stages of European competitions, but again, you learn that as you come. We'll only see that when we sign him. So by all intents and purposes, it is a gamble, especially the amount of money that's going to cost. But if the Barca board, and most importantly Valverde, think that he's good enough, think that he'll fit the system, then more than likely go ahead with it. Big clubs are interested in him. That should say something in itself. We are reported to be the front runners at the moment, but of course there's lots of time to go and nothing has been done yet. So leave your thoughts down below on Semedo, what you think of him, what you've seen of him. I'm sure you can go onto YouTube and find a lot of different clips. And of course, they're only going to be showing the highlights, not the bad points. So bear that in mind. What we are seeing is a player that's exciting and that is very, very highly rated in Portugal. So leave your thoughts down below, guys, on Semedo. Do you think we'll sign him? How much do you think we should be signing him for? What's the maximum bid that we should be paying for him? Leave those thoughts down below. I will see you very, very soon. But until next time, as always, Visca el Barça!